Hi, welcome to another episode of Frostbites. I am Kelly Frost, host of Frostbites, of course. Today we have our co-host, Kelly Commander, that is going to be joining us. I personally love to have another Kelly on set with us. She is a strategist, a visibility person, and she is amazing with our K2 company that she has. And then we also have our guest that we have, ANDREA FLACK-WEATHERALD, and she is an improv professional. I tell you what, I met ANDREA about 6 or 7 years ago. She blew my mind, so I thought for sure she would be a phenomenal guest to have on the show today. She brought her book with us, and she talks about everything improv and bravery and how to deal with any kind of situations and conversations that may be difficult. I don't know who's having those, but she'll walk you through it. Here we go. All right, guys, here's another episode of Frostbites. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today we are with ANDREA FLACK-WEATHERALD.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right. And then we have our co-host today, Kelly.
Kelly Squared.
I know, right? Kelly Square that we keep saying. Kelly Commander. Commander.
Commander, close
I know.
enough.
Everybody has difficult names today.
I know.
Not everybody can be a Frost, right? That's the easy one.
Is it Frest then?
Right,
Or
I know.
Frist?
You know, so many people say Frosty, but yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to call you now.
But yeah, we want to have you on for so long.
I know.
I know.
Finally made it.
But yeah, sometimes it's difficult. You know, too many Kellys in a room. You don't know what you're gonna get.
At least we spell them different. That's a good
I know.
thing, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know though. The I and the Y and which is right.
Well, if you ask my mom, she would tell you the I.
You know, but my name actually came from Charlie's Angels.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a Kelly on that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
So my parents obviously knew I was coming, but the anti-planners obviously did not have a name. So when I came around, my dad asked the nurses, "What do you think we should name her?" And Charlie's Angels was on TV.
Stop it.
Well, you know, at least it didn't turn out to be like a totally crazy name, you know? Like
Yeah.
Kelly is a great name, so.
Yeah, I mean, this was the 70s, so it could have been named almost anything.
Almost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have been Blossom. Or that
If
was
I
the
knew
80s.
anything about Charlie's Angels, in my head I was like, can I pull a single fact out about this movie to land a joke about what else it could have been? And I was
So,
like, nope, I got nothing.
I could have been
Empty
Charlie,
file.
right?
It could- Charlie.
That was so, I really could have landed there. But Charlie's also not a horrible name. I know several Charlottes who go by Charlie. I think it's cute.
That is
This is-
cute.
yeah.
That is cute.
But then I think people would have been like, Charlie.
Or
Yeah.
just Chuck, you know.
Chuck.
So I'm going to call you Chuck
Yeah.
Frosty.
Oh.
And
I mean,
that's-
could you imagine Chuck Frost? I'm thinking that's not a good look for me.
No, I don't think so either.
Chuck Frost
Yeah.
sniffing at your nose.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure this is super valuable content for your people.
Hey, you know what? This just shows like that we're all human and nothing is always professional all the time. We like to have a good time.
Yeah.
Let her hair
So,
down.
Yeah. So one of the reasons that we were looking into having you on the show is, Kelly and I were talking, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I love her book. I'm getting her book, and when she comes, I'm going to have her sign it."
She did.
And she totally did. So what
Yeah.
book is this? Let's see.
This is The Funny Thing About Forgiveness.
So why is this funny? Tell us why it's funny.
Well, the pun there is that it's a combination of mindfulness practice and improvised comedy skills. And
Wow.
so
Wait, got to say that again.
okay. So my work is mindful improv thinking, which is a combination of skills from mindfulness practice and skills from improvised comedy. So I started out as a social worker and then took a left turn that kind of surprised everybody in my life, including me, into producing and performing comedy in Pittsburgh and in New York City, a little bit, mostly in Pittsburgh. But it really kind of surprised me when I found my way into improv that like I knew it would be fun, but I didn't realize it would be like soul church. Like I didn't realize that it would be like so deeply meaningful. And I mean, the work that I do now, I kind of fell ass backwards into. Like I started this company by accident because I never shut up about how meaningful improv was to me. So people started asking me to come to their thing and talk about it. The first time I actually said no because I was like, I don't know how to come in and talk to grown-ups about stuff. I feel like you need me to make slides and we'll have high expectations. But I mean, really, the same skills that make improv work on stage make life work off stage, since all of it is improv. And I heard you say earlier, and it's not uncommon for people to say, I could never do that. And what they mean is, I wouldn't want to be on stage in a situation where drunk people have paid money for me to be funny on command. That feels like a high pressure, boob sweat situation that I don't need in my life. And I get that. But life is improv, you know, and so understanding what are the skills that they're using in order to recover from failure, in order to support each other. I mean, I always imagined when I saw theater teams or whatever, that they were all like best buds. And the reality is the theater, you're coworkers. The theater has chosen who to put on a team. And sometimes there's like gripes with each other. But you walk out on stage and the invitation of improv is have each other's backs anyway. The person that pisses you off, the person that had a bad show last time, the person that, whatever, does life differently than you. While we're here, the onus is on everybody to build something out of nothing by making each other look good and supporting each other's ideas, even if we don't understand them completely just yet. And so these ideas of choosing curiosity instead of judgment, these ideas of listening beyond your initial reaction, these ideas of sacrificial support of your scene partner, I just think are like transformational in how we do marriage and how we do relationships at Thanksgiving. You know, like this is transformational in how we build bridges when we disagree.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. Building bridges.
Building bridges, there you go.
We keep talking about that.
Yeah,
Building
that's
bridges.
amazing.
Yeah.
I do have a big major question.
Okay.
How did you get Colin Mockery to write your forward? I mean, you have to know him, right?
Well, we don't vacation together yet, but
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, come on, whose line is it anyway? I mean, I text my son and told him that I was interviewing somebody whose forward was written by Colin Mockery. He wrote back, absolute goat.
He is a delightful human. So how that came about is that Colin is in a movie called Act Social. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No.
But it's very similar in spirit to the work that I do. So I'm not in this movie, but the idea is they were interviewing people all over the country, and they were bringing people together who were Republicans or Democrats, and no one was allowed to know who each other was, and teaching them improv together. And then the idea was we learn improv, we do improv together, and then we have conversations about real stuff. And the theory behind it just being essentially the entire spirit of what I just shared with you.
Yeah.
And additionally, this thought that when you're vulnerable together and silly and playful together, and you see each other as whole people and not just, you know, this one thing that we've decided means everything, you know, can we find a way to believe that we're whole people and be our best selves in the presence of disagreement? So that's the theory of Act Social. And so Colin is in this movie. He agreed to do improv inside an fMRI machine so they could look at his brain and see how it lights up when he's doing improv. And it's really, really cool. The producer of this movie is Sean Mulvihill. He reached out to me through my website because our work is so similar. And I actually thought that it was a prank and did not get
I would have too.
I would have for like a long time. And I hope he sees this and is like, you're ridiculous. But because I don't think I ever told him that. And I just like straight up did not reply for a while. And so then I reached back out, and Sean and I became friend acquaintances. And around the same time, I knew I wanted to write this book and thought, why don't I see if he can put me in touch? And he did. And when I first reached out to Colin's agent to ask if he would do this, I spelled the word forward wrong in the subject line of the email.
No.
And I did not hear back. And then I realized, after I hit send,
Oh,
and I just had this, massive shame spiral into a box of Girl Scout cookies. And then I just waited for a week and resent the email with a new subject line as if it never even happened. And then he got back to me in an hour and said he would do it.
There's a lesson in that.
Fantastic.
I really think there is. I've thought about that different times. I have in the past totally been someone who, if I don't do something perfectly, it's I just can't. It's I'm embarrassed of myself. I owe the world an explanation for having a flaw.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sure, none of us can relate to that.
No, not at all.
So the question is, what kind of Girl Scout cookies were they?
Thin mints, girl. The best kind. You're not a Thin Mint girl. Let me guess. Tag-alongs.
Yep, you got me.
And you are the lemon ones.
How did you know that?
Boom. Pisces. Psychic vibration.
That's wild.
Maybe because I'm in red and you're in...
I don't know. I love the powdered sugar and I love lemon. Well, I said about drinking lemon juice, so that was kind of a giveaway.
I'm so not a lemon person.
I love lemon.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember you saying that.
Lemon on shrimp, lemon on chicken. I love
But
it.
I can put peanut butter on just about anything.
And I cannot because I'm allergic to it.
Whoa.
That's right, you are. You're allergic to a lot, though, aren't you?
All nuts and sesame seeds. So no Big Macs, no
Yeah.
That's all right.
turtle
Yeah.
cheesecake.
I think we're all allergic to trans fat at this point and hydrogenated oil.
Oh, God.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
I'm saying these things like I have a whole scientific explanation. I could not answer a single follow-up question about anything I just now said. If someone's like, but Andrea, hydrogenated oil we need in small doses, I'd be like, okay, thanks for the okay.
Sure.
But here's the thing. They'll tell you that today, and then in 2 weeks they'll tell you you need to drink a gallon of it, and then in 6 months it'll be a teaspoon, you know?
Yeah.
They change all that so often.
Apple a day will kill you, right?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one. That one's new for me.
All right, so bravery, that's something that you keep covering, right? I've seen it so many times. You're talking about bravery, and that's also, you spoke before about Brene Brown, you mentioned, which, I'm such a fan of hers. So talk to me about bravery. So if you had to define bravery, how would you define bravery?
I think I would define bravery as being willing to do a hard thing because you know it serves you. I don't think that bravery is not feeling afraid of it. I think that bravery is just being willing to do it anyway. And I didn't used to understand that. I definitely used to feel like I used to say all the time, and comedy doesn't help. There's this celebration of self-deprecation, and so I used to come down really hard on myself and make jokes about how I was a weenie and how I was afraid of everything. And because I constantly, even it took me more than a year of performing before I was able to eat before a show. I couldn't eat the whole day or I would be sick. And so because of this, I told myself a story that I'm not brave, that I'm not brave, that I'm not brave. And a few years into being an improviser, a friend of mine said, "You're the most fearless person that I know." And I laughed out loud. I was like, I'm afraid all the time. I am afraid all the time. I just have learned that there's so much joy in renegotiating what that feeling is, renegotiating that the presence of that feeling does not have to mean this is a stopping point. I shouldn't go any further. It's not safe to move forward or something. And to understand that actually I am so capable of feeling this feeling and going ahead and doing whatever it is anyway.
I mean, I think you're completely brave. You've done so many things in your life. I mean, even for just writing a book, getting on a stage, having children, getting married, those are all things that are brave.
Thank you.
Really. Don't you think?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I love how everybody's definition of bravery is just a little bit different, but it all ends up with the same ending. You do something that you never thought you could do. And that could be writing a book. That could be getting up on stage. That could be riding a motorcycle. I mean, whatever that is.
And the central focus of my work now has become brave conversations. And so what I hope to be about in this world is encouraging people to believe that the presence of disagreement is not the end of a relationship. It's not the end of your ability to collaborate with someone. And there's no erasure. It's not to say that that person wasn't hurtful. You know, it's not always the case that something is just a disagreement. Sometimes it's a fundamental difference in worldview, you know, and that can be very hurtful. You know, it's not uncommon for people to write to me about their relationship with their parents. Like, they read the book, and it's angled toward leadership. The subtitle is What Every Leader Needs to Know About Improv, Culture, and the World's Least Favorite F Word. And my ultimate evil, sneaky plan is to train as many people as I can in professional contexts, but for them to take that knowledge of mindful improv methodology for brave conversations into their churches, communities, marriages, their relationships with their in-laws and neighbors and whoever, and for this ultimately to make the world a better place. Like, I just believe that there is a way back to each other. We're headed into another election. And it's just disheartening in some ways, like the fear that I have of watching people who I know are loving and smart and kind and helpful forget how to disagree with integrity. You know, and I really want to be beating the drum as often as I can that sometimes the brave thing is silence. Sometimes the brave thing
Walking
is
away.
just showing up. Sometimes the brave thing is walking away for now. You know, sometimes bridge building doesn't mean that we're always on the bridge or always crossing the bridge. It means that there's a path back, you know, like I just hope that people who interact with me or my work leave with this deep understanding that they are more capable than they realize of being a peace builder in their lives.
Yeah, sometimes the bridge is under construction.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was, doing a little bit of digging. Now, you were saying something about forgiveness, and if you're about to have these deep conversations with someone, and you're trying to work on your relationship, that you go into the conversation already forgiving them, already knowing that no matter what comes from that you've forgiven them, but it was for you.
Yes.
That you're forgiving them, for yourself, for
That's
your
exactly
own
right.
mental stability, that no matter what happens or what they say or, the outcome of everything, that it is for you, and that it's easier to have that conversation because you already have a positive outlook on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, mostly. I don't know if it's easier every time, but the ultimate reality is that then it's you embrace that confrontation as an opportunity rather than an obligation. We so often walk into these conversations believing that our ability to move on is contingent upon whether or not this person offers an apology. And what I've started telling people is that you probably don't even care about the apology anyway. My husband and I were in Europe last year, excuse me, and I had been thinking about this apology thing because I get asked that question a decent amount. And I heard this couple fighting in English, and they had been right in front of us crossing the street, and they were just fighting. She's just like, Andrew, I can't believe you would do that. Andrew. Like, every time she says his name, it's like she might as well be saying the F word. Like, she's like so mad. And they sit right next to us at this bar, and she's just like, look at you on your phone right now. This is disgusting. We came all the way to France, Andrew. And she's like, just on and on and on. You owe me an apology. You owe me an apology, Andrew. And then he looks up and he goes, I'm sorry. And she goes, you don't even mean that. And I was like, I love it.
You're like, come here, come with me. We gotta talk.
And I could feel like Kyle put his hand on my knee in this way that it's like married people communication. And he's like, I'm begging, do not get involved right now. Yes. I am begging you from the depths of my heart to leave this be. Just have your margarita and leave this alone right now. Yes. Like, which I did because of boundaries that I learned from Brene. But
that had to kill you, though. You had to want to be like, listen, guys.
I just want to be like, honey. Yeah, no. But I mean, I'm joking because I don't feel patronizing. I know what it is to feel tangled in knots around feeling like ultimately what she's saying is, I want to be respected.
Right.
We say, I want an apology because that's what we've been taught our whole lives. That's what's been modeled to us our whole lives. But that's not what we want. What we want is respect. And so the reason why we get an apology and it doesn't feel like enough is because what's still missing is respect. And so what I tell people is when you do that inside work of forgiveness and you release yourself from the need to have them do anything, change anything in order for you to know that you are worthy of respect and love and every good thing, you've opened yourself up to realize that the keys to your emotional freedom and your well-being have always been in your own hands. Why give anybody else that power or control? And I say that as if it's so simple. We do this because we want to bring them along on our journey. That's why we want them in our lives.
Yeah.
We also just don't want to be hurt by them.
So I understand. It's hurtful if they don't.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. So often, though, we get it backwards. Ooh, sorry. I bumped your whole table.
You're good.
Probably like kaboomed on the audio. But we get it backwards, and we think, if they could just accept this thing about me, then we could be happy together, or then whatever. And as soon as you just accept, this is where we are right now. This is her worldview or his worldview or whatever. This is what it is right now. Can I find that it is enough that they love me and that they wish they understood, or whatever it is? Can I find that it is enough right now for me to accept myself? That's what opens the door for the continued conversations that build more understanding. We pinch ourselves off because we are demanding something that just can't be given yet. And if we can find a way to accept what is, that's how we can keep building. And that's how we'll ultimately find a way forward so that the thing that we want is even possible.
All right.
Wow.
Seriously.
I know. And hearing it from you and reading bits and pieces out of the book is two totally different things. So I'm glad that you actually speak on this. To kind of piggyback on that, I had marked off in the Freedom Through Forgiveness chapter, listing your no's, the things that you said no to, and then what great yeses can replace those no's. And I think that that is so important to teach, especially women, that saying no is okay. And I went through a whole thing with this a few years ago, that I learned how to say no.
And it's a full sentence.
It's a full sentence.
You don't have to have an excuse after the no, because of this, or no, I don't want to do that.
Or no, not now is also a full sentence. Not right this minute. Like no, like we may have asked you to join us today, and you might have thought it wasn't in line, and you might have said no, not right now, but maybe in the future. And I just talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that is something that people want to hear. They want to know that it's okay to use that one word sentence, because when you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to something else, and that's just so important.
So what I think listeners might benefit from hearing is the foundational concept in improv of yes and. This is how we build a scene. It's acceptance, and it's building on top of that. And so my relationship with the word no has completely evolved after understanding this concept of yes and. I know this may sound counterintuitive, but if you were to take an improv class, it would become abundantly clear that when we say yes and, this doesn't mean we're saying yes to everything, which is like a common pushback if people are feeling resistant to the idea of using improv, which sometimes happens. You know, bringing improv into a professional space, there are bound to be some doubters, which I understand. But really, what we're talking about when we say yes and is humility and courage, and finding this balance between the humility to believe that the next right thing can come from anywhere. Like, stay open, stay listening. That yes piece is really about listening and acceptance, you know, and the and piece is about courage and finding that ability to add your thing on top of what exists already. And so what I want for people to realize is that saying no to something is an immediate yes to something else. And conversely, what you say yes to is an immediate no to something else. So I think that for me, being a yes person for so long, or a people pleaser for so long, as I used to say, what I didn't realize is that you are always saying yes and no at the same time. Always. Every decision you make is a yes and a no at the same time simultaneously. So me telling myself that I'm a yes person is me not realizing how reality works. Every single yes was a no to something else. Every single yes, I'll do this when I don't really have time is a no to my own mental health. Every single yes to something is also a no to something. And so for me to realize that, like, the question is not, am I a yes person or a no person? The question is, what does the scene need right now? What actually honors what I'm trying to build in my life? And here's the really gorgeous and delicious thing. What honors me,
I love that.
what honors me honors everybody in the scene. They might not realize that right away. And I have found this in so many different ways in my life. As a foster-adopt mom, navigating relationships with my kids' birth parents, and realizing that when I'm trying so hard to figure out, like, what's best for my family? I don't want to cut them off from their roots. What's best for my family? What's best for my family? I'm a part of my family too. I'm a part of my family too.
Yeah.
So what I need also matters. And it is okay for me to draw boundaries that honor me and realize that honors everybody too. It does honor my children. It does honor their parents who are on different places in their journeys of becoming healthy people. And all of that is so complicated, and that's probably the most that I should even say about it. But the reality is that people are served by things they don't like.
Yeah.
You can be served by something that you don't like. There are infinite ways that things can turn out well for you. There are infinite ways for you to get the things that you need. And so my ability to protect my peace does not mean that anybody else's joy is automatically taken away from them.
Right.
Yeah, you're not trying to diminish anybody else's joy. You're just trying to.
And even if I were trying to, there are still infinite ways for that person to build the life that they want. This is why I tell people, I mean, there's just so many. I interact with people who want to talk with me about a divorce, or want to talk with me about abuse as children, or want to talk with me about their church congregation, or want to talk with me about their startup, or whatever. There's so many different brave conversations that people are having in the world. But the thing that I think that I just want people to understand is that it really is not possible for somebody to take something that is yours. It's not possible for somebody to make it so that now you can't have peace in your life. Now you can't have joy. Now you can't have the money that you need, or the house that you need, or whatever. Like, I even was talking with someone who was getting so discouraged trying to buy a house and felt like somebody else had gotten her house. And I was like, that's not what happened.
That house wasn't meant to be yours, or...
And I used to think that type of thing was so trivial, and I would get cranky when I would hear people say that sort of thing. And it really has just been a worldview shift for me to understand that a yes and a no are the same.
Well, and that shifts your entire energy, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's, you have to put as much positive energy out there as you possibly can. It makes such a difference. You know, just understanding how you are and how you see the rest of the world and how it sees you and how you react to everything. I mean, I know for me, as I age, I have kind of just understood how to start to react to people. And I used to react quickly. And now I have kind of learned that when I hear or see or, you know, whatever comes into my realm, take a breath, kind of just...
Silence is not an emergency.
And just kind of mull everything over for a minute. And if it takes me a day to respond to things, it takes me a day, and that's okay. It's probably better.
Yes.
It's absolutely better. It's absolutely better. I was talking with a group of people somewhat recently about this improv concept, bring a brick, not a cathedral. You bring one thing, and we build whatever it's going to be together. We build whatever it's going to be, we will build it together. I bring a brick, you bring a brick. And silence is the mortar that holds everything together.
Yeah.
If we rush,
Agreed.
we're going to get a pile of bricks.
Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, and I think it makes people kinder. You know, it really does. And I have noticed, at least since the pandemic, that I think people are much more understanding. I think during the pandemic, people were kind of losing their minds.
Yeah.
Understandably.
Yeah.
You know, there was so much that I think unknown. Anything that's unknown, I think, makes people nervous,
Scared.
angry, you know, and that turns so quickly.
Yeah.
So really, I think just give yourself grace.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace, give other people grace.
Yes.
I think for the longest time, I was on my moral high horse of hating the word positivity and feeling like that's a privilegey word. And what I've come to understand is like, peace is what I'm really talking about here. Like, me being at peace is how I am able to be a part of anything that is good in the world. If I, you know, here's what it is that I have met people in my work from all over the world who are pouring their hearts and their lives every day into making the world a better place. And I am too. That's also what I'm doing. And I can't be convinced that these people aren't good people. They are wonderful people. I have also met people who are good people who are miserable people. They are
True
not happy.
story.
Yeah.
They are not happy. They are angry. They are fearful. They are sad. And I just don't think that that's what it has to feel like while we work to make the world braver, kinder, and safer. I deeply believe in the work of making the world fairer and better for people. I want for every kid to have the things that they need.
Yeah.
If I could bust up foster care and make it better right now, I would. I understand that there are things that just aren't fair, and that there are kids that are disadvantaged, and it's not fair. And I acknowledge that. This is the whole spirit of improv. Yes, and there is no erasure. There is no ignoring of what the problems are, but there is acceptance. This is where we are right now. The pushing up against it and the resisting, and that it never should have been that way. It never should have gotten here, but it is here. It is here now. And so in our acceptance of what is, can we find a way to maneuver in a way that honors our scene partners? And my thing is, yes, we can. We absolutely can. Because when you find a way to be in that place of acceptance of what is, then you realize that you're surrounded by scene partners that want to build with you. You really are. Maybe they vote differently than you. They still want to help. They really do.
Yeah.
You know, and
then it's a now what?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So your scene partner changes by the minute sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you're
Right
my
now, you
scene
guys are my
partners
scene partners.
right now. You
Now
know,
what?
and when I go home, my husband becomes my scene partner, and you know, my clients and my contractors and everybody. I really like that. I'm gonna start calling people my scene partners. I
love it. It helps me hold it lightly. You know, it helps me hold it lightly. Improv is like immersion therapy in resilience for change and this sort of thing. It's so delicious and wonderful. And when I remind myself that in any moment, this person at the DMV that is not understanding my perspective, this person is a scene partner. This scene will end, and there will be Starbucks, and and it'll be fine. Like it's okay to hold it lightly. You know, Kyle, my husband, he does such a great job with this. At first, when my worldview was really shifting away from some of the more I just want to honor everyone in my life, but more dogmatic ways that we were kind of raised to think about God and life and all this. And as my worldview began shifting, I started worrying, like, is this too scary for him? You know, so I just didn't really share it too much. But have had so many conversations since then about this idea of, like, mindful improv thinking, like using this in our lives. And he is so like, boop, 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 yes or no. He's a software engineer. He's like, boop, boop, how am I? He's not a robot. I don't know why I keep saying boop, boop. I love you. When you watch this, I love you. And I don't think you're a robot. But it's been so lovely to see how I wrestle things around. Everything is a gray area for me. I am constantly thinking about this stuff. And he has just been like, I've internalized this. This is my worldview now. And so we're driving to the airport before we went to this trip to Europe that I mentioned earlier. And on our drive there, we get texts that our flight is canceled. Not delayed, straight up canceled. And we're 20 minutes from the airport at this point. And I, for a span of about 2.5 minutes, forgot that life is improv and that all things are working for my good. I just like forgot that and was not my best self.
You lost it.
Yeah. And I was just panicking. We already have childcare. We're almost there. I bought a new bathing suit. Like, I'm like, you know,
And it
just
looks
like,
good on me.
I'm like just panicking. And he's like, this is going to be fine. He's like, let's just go. Let's just go and see like what we can work out with the people at the desk. And I'm like telling him all my reasons. Kyle, that's not how it works. They are customer service people that do not have what can they do, Kyle? Can they change the blizzard? They can't change the blizzard, Kyle. You know, like I'm in my head all this. Sure enough, we get there and they're explaining, you know, what's happening with the flights. And he looks at me, he's like, it's okay. What if we just drive to New York? We could just catch our connecting flight. And he, in this moment, is like initiating this like yes and game with me. And I'm like, yeah, and we could catch up on our podcasts. And he's like, yeah, and it'll be fine. We'll get donuts. And it's just like, it's so fine. The people at the counter looked at each other like, these people are not being mean to us. They're
These people are
they're
aliens.
totally fine. What planet are they from, you know?
Planet Xanax.
And Kyle, Kyle is just like totally chill with this. And I'm like, all right, it'll be fine. This guy goes, you know what? Ultimately, you guys need to get to Ireland, right? Like, you don't even need to go to New York. And we're like, yeah. And he goes, I'm just going to book you on a completely separate flight that goes through Atlanta, and then you'll get to Ireland even a little bit sooner than you would have. Boop, boop, boop. Makes it happen.
So he was
upgraded
the robot.
our seats even.
He was the robot, yeah.
Yeah, I know. This is just my sound effect for everything.
But that's a lesson in you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar, right? Because if you would have walked in there just freaking out in that original frame of mind you were in, they'd have been like, flight's canceled, bye-bye. You know, but look what happened.
And it was Kyle just being like, remember how everything is improv? Remember how it's okay no matter what? And I was like,
the student becomes the teacher.
I know. I was like, fine. I heard some crazy person say that once. She sounds like a bitch.
So I do have a couple questions for you. Yeah. So, so I went on your Facebook, social media, because I was like, let's just see some interesting details, you know, because you want to just do a little bit of digging. So if I said to you, you sunk my battleship, what does that mean to you?
I'm wondering if you're talking about the time that I posted halfway through a glass of red wine because I was laughing until I was crying about the fact that I had lined up all my boats right next to each other because I thought that they would be, I thought it was like this brilliant strategy and my son would never find my boats. But then what happened was he got mad because he couldn't find my boats. So then my husband took his place and then smoked me. He figured out my whole plan immediately.
I love that.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I love it when people post things like that on their social media. It's not always serious and just, obviously some things are serious. But when I was laughing so hard at that.
I thought I was a genius. I thought I was a military. I was ready to call the president and be like, I will advise our boats strategy for the military.
Yeah.
Let me know what you need. I'm here for you.
Now, we had MJ Calloway on the show last time, and she dresses her dog up in these little cute costumes, right? So I was like, okay. Oh my gosh, your dog. What kind of dog is that?
So we have two dogs, and I think you might be talking about Dublin, our golden doodle.
Is that what it is? Okay.
So we have a golden doodle puppy who is about 5 months old now, maybe. Well, what is it, January now? So he's about 6 months old. But yes, he is adorable, and he needed life-saving surgery right before Christmas because he had 2 socks and several Nerf darts stuck in his duodenum.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay, wait. Okay, rewind. 2 socks and what?
Some Nerf darts. Because my house is full of Nerf darts.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that's
And he got it stuck in his what?
His area between his stomach and his pooper.
Okay. That's
the journey that it takes between those 2 points.
And it just couldn't go the rest of the way.
Yeah, no. So
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Listen, you guys.
Poor guy.
Kyle and I went somewhere with the kids, I don't remember where, and my sister was watching him, and she was like,
oh,
Andrea, he is so cute, but he does not try to stay alive. And I was like, these are facts.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's awful. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to ask you. So in my life, I'm pretty grounded. I'd say you're pretty grounded, too.
I try to be.
I am surrounded by what I call squirrels. I have so many people in my life that just squirrel, nonstop, squirrel. I love them all to death. Really, to the point that I send them things that have squirrels on them.
I've never gotten one of those, so I'm not a squirrel.
No, so you're not, So my girlfriend just recently, I gave her like a pillow and it had a squirrel on it and it had this big, little frame thing with a squirrel. Actual squirrels, I send her a squirrel calendar. Now she works for a cable company and she puts them all over the walls there. And everyone's like, yep, that's about right. Right? Squirrels everywhere. And then I saw on your post you said something and it said, and I'm going to make you answer this too. Okay. So you know where I'm going with this. If you had to give a TED Talk based on the observation that squirrels can swim, what would the title be, and what are the life-changing takeaways you would share with the world?
So you would like me to give you this TED Talk? So I'm really glad you asked this question. People do not think of squirrels as swimmers. That does not change at all their ability to swim. People's perception of you is based on their past observations, not on your full menu of abilities. And so if you'd like for people to think differently about you, you do not need to worry about the things that they say, or like I bet in any of those posters of squirrels that you've sent, there's none of them swimming.
No, I think they're actually on little
You're gonna have to
skis.
Yeah.
Oh, they
well,
can ski too. See
Listen,
that?
that's my next TED Talk.
Squirrels on skis.
Yeah. So I would say my life-changing takeaways from the observation that squirrels can swim would be don't let other people's perceptions define you. Also, you don't owe it to anyone to swim in front of them. Like, it's fine that you don't want to swim in front of people, and it's fine if they don't know your whole truth. Like, do you. Live in the woods. Do the things you need to do.
Did you see our whole attitude change?
I know. I love that. The energy. I know.
It all shifted. It was great.
It really did. That's a really interesting way of looking at it through a squirrel's eyes.
I mean, let's go deep on it if we want to. I started long distance biking last year for the first time. I didn't own a bike, and then my son convinced me to sign up for a 150-mile bike ride between Pittsburgh and Cumberland, Maryland.
Nope.
And I was basically terrified because do you guys cycle, either of you?
Did
I
you
took
ever
a
say nope?
spin class years ago.
And it
I
destroyed
know
your entire
how to-
downtheria?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I had downtheria concerns about it. But they make squishy pants for that.
Yes.
They look ridiculous. And so I was like, I'm not going to be one of
about
those people.
comfort.
I'm not going to do that. And then listen, now I am. Things change. But it was on one such trail ride that I observed squirrels swimming.
Wow.
Twice in one day. Had never seen it in my
That is
life.
insane.
Saw
Yeah.
it happen twice.
Wow.
But isn't it weird that we didn't realize that squirrels can swim? Like, why would we think they can't? I didn't think they could.
I mean, we probably just don't think too hard about it. If we had to
we
think
see them in
deeply
trees.
about
Yeah.
all the things that are probably true.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another point, adding on addendum to my original TED Talk.
Yes.
Just because we don't know things doesn't make them not true. And so it's totally fine for us to be accepting of the fact that something could exist and we just haven't seen it.
Yeah. I
You
don't
know?
know everything.
Yeah,
No.
totally fine.
I'm
Totally,
okay
yeah.
with
I'm
it.
glad I don't know everything. I
Yeah,
don't want
that
to
would be
know
exhausting.
everything.
Be
That
really
would.
exhausting. I don't
Yeah.
know that much about what badgers do in their free time. I'm not losing sleep over it.
Yeah.
You know?
Badgers.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, see? We're such researchers. Now we're going to be like, badgers.
Or like, what are the really cute ones? Otters. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're very
I
cute.
could just have an otter as a pet. They're so cute. I mean,
All
I
right,
would.
so you went to school in Ohio, correct? Okay. So I was looking up alumni because I saw that you had just given a talk there, correct?
Oh, yeah, at Bluffton University.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So were you aware that Phyllis Diller went to school, same place that you did?
I don't know if I knew that she was a Bluffton alum. I know who she is, but I don't know if I made that connection or not. That's
So
cool.
I thought it was so interesting because, I mean, Phyllis Diller, so she is a stand-up, or was a stand-up
Was.
comedian, right? An author, an artist, and I was like, wow, so much.
That's bonkers.
right?
I did not know that. Thank you for telling me
So
that.
you're like walking the path.
I know.
Yes. I thought that
Bluffton
was,
should make T-shirts with me and her on them.
That would be
and then the
amazing.
faces could like morph.
Oh, I would
That
buy
would
one.
be so.
I
It's like
would
an
buy one.
animated T-shirt, and I love this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
But I
little
thought that
revenue
was so
stream.
interesting.
Yeah.
But so cool that
No,
you
that
know,
is,
she's an
yeah.
alum and you're an alum. You just spoke there, and
Yeah.
it was really neat to just kind of look up different alumni from schools. You know,
Interesting.
very cool. Very
like
cool.
that.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap up here. We've been doing this for a while, and so interesting, so much great information. I know our audience is just gonna fall in love with everything that you said.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So we'd like to try to end everything with a little frostbite, as we say. So if you could give our audience one piece of advice on if you come into a situation where you feel as if it is a negative conversation with someone, how should they spin it, or how can they spin it to walk away peacefully?
This is an opportunity, not an obligation. There
Love
is
that.
there is a way forward with this scene partner if you want there to be, but your job is to get into alignment, not have the perfect thing to say right now. And if you're not in alignment, meaning remembering that you are worthy, they are worthy, it's safe to trust the process. If you're not there, don't say anything. It's not your responsibility to teach this person something. It's your responsibility to stand in your integrity.
Love that. fantastic.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Frostbites. We appreciate it.
Thanks so
Kelly
much
and
for having
Kelly
me.
asking so many great questions.
I know.
too. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's another episode for us with Andrea, and we thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.